say it today.
I know.
Well,
Seriously,
that was awkward.
I was like, where are we going? What's going on?
It's feel like Haroon, you want to do the thing?
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'll take it.
This is the Higher Standard. We're the #1 financial literacy podcast in the world.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
That's Saied Omar.
That's Christopher Nahibi,
That's Haroon.
or I should say Nagabi.
Yeah, let's just not say last names. That's Saied. That's Haroon, and I'm Chris.
There you go.
That's much better that way, right?
Yeah,
We're a little ethnic with the last names. It's complicated.
it's a
And
bit
you-
much.
You got 3 first names.
I do.
Well, before I get into any of the what the hell we're going to talk about today thing, Haroon, how does it feel to be back in the actual studio?
It feels good, man. I've been locked out at home for the last 3 weeks.
You've been
now.
locked out of your
Oh,
home?
sorry,
That's
locked
perplexing.
in.
In, out, who cares?
Yep.
I
You know.
mean, yeah.
I've been trapped at home for the last 3 weeks. My wife had COVID, then the baby had COVID, then my mother-in-law got COVID. I was the only one that did not get COVID, but because everyone else had COVID, I decided to stay at home.
Or you're lying about what you have right now.
I was exactly. I was telling Odun and his wife that, hey man, it's 2023. It's no longer cool to get COVID. Okay.
Yeah.
Stop. Yeah. Relax.
No one's going to feel bad for you now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That
You're
time
not.
is
You're not
coming
out
down.
doing cool stuff.
Yeah. Although it's probably hard for Haroon. He loves to get out of the house. That's the problem.
I remember when people were catching COVID back in like 2020, 2021. You're like, damn, these guys living on the edge, dangerous.
Yeah. Can't believe they risked their life to get a donut, man.
Fuck
Remember
you.
that shit?
Man, that guy over there is touching the handrails. Look at this
Wow. You actually touched that black thing that goes around those escalators?
guy. Mm.
Mm-mm.
Didn't wipe down the grocery cart.
No. I was wiping out grocery carts like a motherfucker. And if I walked in, there wasn't like those antibacterial wipes ready to go.
Game
Like,
over.
this place is so dirty.
Can you
Bro,
believe
the,
it?
the worst
Yeah.
was when
Yeah.
you're walking around the grocery store and you had a cough.
Oh yeah, you had to swallow your cough.
Dude, I have a chronic throat clearing problem. You kidding me? Every time I was at the gym, people were like,
Mm.
oh, shit.
This guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go that way.
Yeah.
People were pissed.
You've been you tame it really well on the show.
I actually tried something new today, and it's oddly seems to be working. I'm very perplexed
Don't
about it.
jinx it.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but
What'd you do?
so it's not the peptides. I know it's what. Although today is my first day on peptides, so somebody in our office came in, was like, "Hey, you're clearing your throat a lot. Like,
Stop.
fucking stop."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Look, try peppermint." I'm like, "I don't want those peppermint fucking. They have sugar in them. I don't want sugar." She's like, "Shut the fuck up and eat it. Take it, okay?
Wow.
It's good for your throat." And at that point, I mean, what do you say? You say, "Yes, ma'am," and I did, and it oddly made me feel a little better.
Almost like a cough drop.
No, cough drops have never worked for me. But she said peppermint's like a natural thing. It'll make your throat feel better. And I was like, yeah, bullshit.
But it worked.
I still coughed a little bit at the gym when I went today, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it had been the last couple of days,
Mm.
which had been pretty bad.
All right.
But I naturally have ups and downs, so who knows? Shall we?
Let's do it.
All
what are
right.
we getting into today? Not a whole lot.
Wow.
Damn.
You know you're supposed to like hook people into the show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of articles this week, but we're gonna do some. We're gonna
Is
dive
there a
in.
non-clinically depressed version of you that you can bring into the show tonight?
Yeah, like, should
What-
we
what-
just restart the show?
What? Wow, you guys! I'm getting attacked. Both. This is why.
No,
we're
just
This
asking
is why you
questions.
want him back to attack me again.
No, I actually
With
want him.
comments like that, I mean,
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. I mean, we're just.
what is this? We're 4 minutes into the show and you're like, hey guys, we don't have a lot to talk about, so fuck.
So
sorry.
yeah, if you guys want to turn off your car now and put your audio device to the
We're
side,
gonna do deep dives on the articles that we do have. Is that better?
that did not really salvage a whole lot in my mind.
No.
I mean, Haroon is again not wrong. There's a consistent theme here,
Okay.
and I actually do owe you a bit of an apology, Haroon. So there were a couple of things you suggested that I've now seen the light of day on. We're gonna change up the way we do things on the YouTube channel slightly, largely because of Haroon's influence and some other people we've been talking to as well. And we're going to change a lot on the audio format of the syndicated show for all of your streaming platforms, your Apple Podcasts, your Spotify. We're going to get rid of that really annoying intro that you guys clearly are skipping. We are too, so it's not just you.
Yeah. Exactly.
The outro we're probably going to skip. That includes a disclaimer. So we'll hope the earlier show disclaimer applies going forward.
yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Let that disclaimer just apply to everything else.
Everything prior to episode 161, that disclaimer still applies moving forward.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, all right, jumping into the show, we got actually a lot to talk about. Saeed's a liar. We're going to talk about financial influencer. I'm using air quotes and bunny ears here for those of you who can't see me. Grant Cardone doing what Grant Cardone does, which is lie, cheat, steal, and rob.
This came out today.
Huffington Post coming swinging.
Man.
And I got to tell you, this particular journalist,
Mhm.
Tom Warren,
Yeah.
I love him.
Stud.
BuzzFeed News, but apparently he was up for a lot of awards. I did a whole background read on him. He's English.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a great background, and he approached this article with some pretty damn strong literary perspective. I mean, he came at this like, look, like, I'm doing this investigative journalistic style. Like, it was good.
Right.
It's a longer read for like an article, but it's worth every minute of the read.
Right.
It gives you a
I
great
think
background.
he took a nice approach, did a deep dive.
With integrity.
Right.
With integrity, which is not something that I can say we do a lot here. Yeah.
Oh, integrity.
That's not our strong suit.
Yeah. Okay. Not our forte.
Ours is the lowbrow, cheeky comedy.
Mm.
We're talking about the Fed launching their long-awaited instant payment service and what this could mean for you
Mhm.
and for people like, I don't know, Venmo, PayPal, people who are trying to transfer money immediately. Well, this kind of
Right.
says we don't need you anymore.
Yeah. That's the end goal for them. That's for sure.
There is a long-thought belief that this is the Fed's first step into the crypto world, by the way.
I was gonna get into that once we get into the topics.
See, I can read your mind.
You knew what I was doing.
I knew exactly what you were doing. We'll talk more about the Fed launching their payment system in a couple different articles, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Then we will talk about 10 possible reasons why the recession may have not arrived so far.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if there's time, we'll talk about homebuilder sentiment.
Yeah.
To round out the show. And we had some personal things that happened this week, which I'll talk about a little bit on the show as well, if there's time.
We have to make sure we find time for that.
Personal stuffs.
I know exactly what you're hinting at.
Do you?
We have to.
Personal stuffs makes you think of something.
Yeah. Personal stuffs.
Okay. All right. Well, this, according to the Huffington Post, which is arguably one of the best articles I have read this year, financial influencer Grant Cardone says he can make you a billionaire. His investors claim he defrauded them.
This is so wild.
Say it ain't so.
Hey, just let's skip millionaire. I can make you a billionaire.
If you're gonna lie to people, go big with the lie.
Yeah, that's what he does.
I mean, is it only obvious to me that this man clearly idolizes the idea of the Wolf of Wall Street, even though he got into a pretty famous battle with Jordan Belfort?
Right.
But he's got some mounting legal issues, and this particular article broke it down in such a fascinating way. And I have a couple of quotes from the article, which I'm going to read.
So do I.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
You want to go first? Or shall I?
No. I mean, a lot of it is a little bit of some backstories and some examples of his scumbaggery.
Okay, well, so then I'll go right for the jugular, and then you can backfill whatever you like. How about that?
Okay.
All right. Starting from the top.
Maybe do we do a little background for those? I mean, I would hope people know who Grant Cardone is.
I would hope they don't,
No,
actually.
no,
Yeah.
but no, you would want them to know so that they could steer clear.
Well, the article gives you a pretty good background as to who he is and where he came from. That's actually what half this longer article talks about, is kind of his origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Basically started off as a used car salesman
Mm-hmm.
in the San Diego area. I'm skipping a lot of his childhood stuff, which the article gets into.
Mm-hmm.
Then he pivoted into, I guess he was like according to him, he was like one of the top used car salesmen in the country.
I mean, questionable.
Got fired from his job despite that, which are, again, questionable, right?
Right.
Said he was never going to be his fortune was never going to be in somebody else's hands again. Started his own company. He was training car salesmen. Then he was a coach. You know, all the stuff that I hate, masterminds, all that.
Right. Selling
2017, he goes big. The Church of Scientology is very much wrapped in this, and there's a lot of stuff that was new to me in this article, which was fascinating.
Yeah.
And they kind of blow him wide open with some of the things that insiders of his company who have left have now admitted to witnessing and experiencing there. Not to mention the fact that apparently Scientology is very intertwined with his business in and of itself. That's just got a bad stigma to it. But no judgment on anybody who's a Scientologist. You know, you put out good content, you do good things, no judgment. You do what Grant Cardone does, judgment. Not a good guy. You know?
And he was using a lot of the same business practices that some other people that we've covered on the show, like Sam Bankman-Fried.
Deceptive, manipulative, disingenuous. There's a lot of words I can use to describe it.
All that, and using other people's celebrity to leverage themselves.
Ooh, the celebrity pimp game. Yeah.
That is the most aggravating part of it all, because they know that people will rely on their endorsements.
And so here's the thing. So
I'm not one to believe in that.
why is it that we give celebrities the credence of having some social integrity? Why do we
Right.
assume that we know them because we've seen them in roles, and if he, she, or they talk about this product, I should buy into it? I mean, it's not just them. I mean, going back to those old, like, you know, AARP commercials and the celebrity who's coming off their tail end of their career.
Right.
You know, I'm so-and-so from Days of Your Life, and now I'm 80 years old, and I'm endorsing this product. And people from that generation where that person was a celebrity will still identify with this person and buy their product solely because they have some connection to this person.
Right. Yeah. Maybe it has something to do with people thinking that the celebrity or the celebrity's team have done their research and have really, you know, understood what this person's all about. I mean, he's had everyone from the likes of Kevin Hart, Snoop Dogg, Donald Trump, Tom Brady, which we know Sam Bankman-Fried actually did a video. Remember, Tom had that like selfie video camera on him and SBF.
Yeah.
He was like,
That was creepy
I'm here with my boy.
and awkward.
Dude, Tom Brady will go after anyone with money.
It's really desperate. Arun, go back to that article you brought up, that Google search. That was interesting. So, Arun, this is why I love having the studio. Why do people idolize celebrities? He asked Google, and Google responded, there is a subconscious desire in the human race to idolize anything that seems better, greater, richer, well-known, or powerful.
Yeah.
There is
makes
a
sense.
tendency to worship anything that seems glamorous, fascinating, or powerful. And most people have an unconscious desire to be famous themselves and popular, even if they do not admit to it openly.
Yeah.
I think that's a very accurate description of what the mechanism is behind it.
Right.
I mean, it is almost like a subconscious human thing to want to attach yourself to something bigger.
Right.
Right.
Which is why I always thought it was so noble of someone like Casey Neistat, right? That
Mhm.
would get all these endorsement deals, and unless he vetted it out and tried it himself and truly believed in the product, he's like, no, I'm not pimping it out on my page. He kept some level of integrity.
Yeah. And the journalist who wrote this had a ton of integrity. You could tell.
Right.
He didn't mention sources. He certainly identified when things were corroborated and when they weren't.
Right.
It was very, very, very well done. So I'm going to read some quotes from the article just to get everything started here. Huffington Post interviewed 4 former employees and reached out to current employees about the inner workings of Cardone Capital. For those of you who don't know, Cardone Capital is effectively a syndicator. They take both accredited and non-accredited investor funds. Accredited will be $100,000 or more as a minimum investment, and non-accredited will be generally as low as $1,000 per investor.
So
What
crazy.
he has done on at least one example of an investment structure, but it had like 7 properties in it. He paid his accredited investors, those bigger investors, out a little bit, but chose not to unilaterally chose as the manager, which was in his discretion, not to pay the smaller investors. Why? They're not going to sue. What are they going to do? They're going to complain about $1,000. They're going to complain about a couple $1,000.
Right. That's
But even
insane.
then, the accredited investors, you put in like 100,000 or more, he's talking about returns of 18, 19, 20% when he sells the property, including appreciation value. What they're really getting in most cases that I've seen is about 5% or maybe 4.5%,
Right.
which anecdotally is less than a high yield savings account would give you right now.
Insane. I mean, there are syndication deals, right, where they do break up the investing members into Class A and Class B.
Very common. Yeah.
It's very common, and in those are Class A members getting paid out first before Class B members?
They can. It really depends on how the structure is. Generally, that is absolutely the case.
Yes.
And if there's any residual funds left, it pays the
Right.
Class B.
But to unilaterally just pick these people out, right?
I think honestly, in his case, to have non-accredited investors, you can pretty much guarantee most of those are coming from social media.
Yeah.
And they're not sophisticated. The whole idea of having an accredited investor is that the assumption that the accredited investor who has more wealth has more of an understanding of the risks associated with an investment like this.
Right.
Where the
And,
non-accredited investor would not.
and it's well documented why he was going after some of these non-accredited investors through social media, because they weren't savvy enough to look into the details to figure out.
Yeah, they saw 18% returns and thought this is a great investment. They don't realize he has, in at least 3 of the funds that I've looked at, he has the ability to unilaterally choose when he's going to close the fund, meaning sell the fund and give you that appreciation and value. There is no timeline. He can do it in perpetuity, whenever the hell he wants. It's insanity.
That's
That's the most shocking thing about his funds is he has complete and total control. And why anybody would ever agree to that, I don't, it is much more beyond anything I've ever seen anybody else's fund. I
Right.
mean, it is far. But the article continues. So, in one interview, a former senior executive at Cardone Capital alleged they watched as staffers tried to destroy what they say was evidence of wrongdoing. They also provided documentation to support their allegations, and an internal financial document reviewed by the Huffington Post indicates Cardone has made $54 million by marking up properties sold to his investors through his real estate fund. Grant Cardone and Cardone Capital did not respond to multiple requests for comment.
No.
What they're referring to is what Adam, I think his name is Adam Smith-Levin.
Oh, yeah.
He's a former Scientologist himself, was part of the Sea Org, and then ultimately now has been one of the biggest voices calling out criticism of Cardone. He said it was closer to $110 million on the funds that he looked at, but Huffington Post has journalistic standards, so they're saying, hey, this is all we could verify with what we got from documentation.
Right.
Either way, $54 million, $110 million is a lot of money. What
And
he's doing is he's buying the properties in his name,
Yes.
and he's turning around and selling them
Right.
to the fund that you're investing in for $5 or $10 million more.
And primarily targeting states where the
Sale price is not public.
Sale price is not public.
Yeah.
More scumbaggery.
Scumbaggery. And the scumbaggery continues. This is my last quote from the article because I can go on with this really till the end of time. Now, social media sleuths and some of Cardone's investors are looking into the legitimacy of his real estate funds and various business partnerships and are trying to hold him accountable. They allege that Cardone has pulled the wool over clients' eyes and trapped them into deals that only serve his interest. You don't say. Paul Pelletier, who was the Department of, Pelletier,
the Department of Justice most senior fraud prosecutor.
Well, senior fraud prosecutor during a 25-year career at the agency. This man knows fraud when he sees it.
the most senior.
Yeah.
Right.
Who was the Department of Justice's most senior fraud prosecutor during a 25-year career at the agency. Yeah, that's strong.
He knows what he's doing.
Review the documents in the class action case against Cardone. It looks like his business is built on lies and deception that will likely collapse, leaving investors holding an empty bag, he said.
Now, do you think he was trying to get hip with it? Like
empty bag, fumble the bag.
You fumbled the bag.
I think he was going with the old school brown bag.
Oh,
like
okay.
I don't think he knew he was so old that it was hip again.
Yeah, they cycled it back.
Yeah, you know how like baggy pants are in again.
Why?
I like it.
Baggy pants,
bro. I got thick thighs.
I mean, okay, loose is one thing, but like
not like Genco jeans and like that. I'm talking like, you know, like I want to have non-skinny jeans. So,
yeah,
we already established.
I was never a
my
fan.
knocks don't fit.
Knots.
Your knots, my knocks.
My knots don't fit.
Yeah, your knots, my knocks. We established that in a prior episode, which you guys should go listen to because it was amazing.
Right.
So my man Cardone is getting called out, and I got to tell you, I, for one, there's lots of people out there who are very cynical on him, could not be happier that at least people are getting an education on what they should expect from a syndication, because this is not it.
Okay, so what should people get out of a syndication? Well,
full disclosure, full transparency to start.
What does that look like?
Well, for example, you shouldn't be allowed to invest in something without having a full and thorough understanding of the risks relative to other funds.
So you're referring to being an accredited investor.
Well, being an accredited investor is generally the best way for these people to go. If you're going downstream for $1,000 to investors, I would argue, as a syndicator, if my job is to keep all of you, my investors, informed and up to date, having you in for $1,000 is not economically viable for me.
Right.
It makes a lot more sense to have somebody with $100,000 or more who's got a material vested interest.
More skin in the game.
More skin in the game. And then it's a lot less people versus 100,000, 1,000 people, $1,000 people. That's 100,000 more disclosures I got to send out versus one.
Right.
So it just doesn't make sense from just a logistics perspective in and of itself.
Right.
But
that right there should be cause for concern and raise some red flags. Like, why aren't the savviest real estate investors that know this space in this, and why am I, who only has $1,000, being able to invest in this?
Or you can compare it to a real estate investment trust, which is going to give you a lot of the same benefits. But
right.
Fun fact, most people don't know. In 2012, a pretty significant law change from the SEC came down and allowed this to really kind of permeate social media.
Oh, okay.
they loosened the rules and the standards around what was considered types of advertising as deceptive and non-deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result of that, you've seen this rise of syndicators beyond just Cardone just kind of pop up everywhere on social media.
Okay.
And if you ever wonder why they're not getting the hammer thrown at them as badly as you think they should be, or why they're just so prolific now,
Mm-hmm.
is because a lot of them went to Grant Cardone's 10X conference, and a lot of them are getting around what otherwise would be illegal in 2012 because the rules have been loosened.
Wow.
Yeah, shocking but true. Shall we jump?
Let's do it.
According to Reuters, Fed is set to launch long-awaited instant payment service, modernizing the system.
This has been going around, and I didn't realize how long this has been talked about.
Long time. Well,
Long
'cause
time.
it's already existed. It already exists in Europe right now.
Right. Yeah, it does already exist in Europe right now, but they've been talking about launching this thing for the greater portion of like a year and a half, 2 years.
Mhm.
Right? So basically what they did is they just launched their money transferring service, instant payment services between banks and between customer to customer, business to customer, business to business. And it's really just catching up with the 21st century. But there are I think some concerns that people should really consider, before implementing.
Like?
Once the funds get transferred, they are not reversible. So the argument is part of what made the older system so good is there was time to vet out any issues of fraud, right? And funds could be reversed.
Because most people had to balance and settle overnight at their local Fed.
Right. Or if you went to deposit a check, sometimes it took several days for it to clear.
None of that anymore. It would clear instantaneously.
Right. It would clear absolutely instantaneously.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I, like many people, believe this is the beginning of the end of cryptocurrency in some ways. And to give you an example as to why, the argument with cryptocurrency was that you could transfer funds immediately, right?
And that it was decentralized, right?
And it was decentralized. But now crypto enthusiasts are calling for regulation and centralization,
Mm-hmm.
which is, in fact, what our system allows for currency.
Right.
But paper currency, or government-backed fiat as we know it now, always had some challenging idiosyncrasies. Number
Right.
one was the speed,
Mm-hmm.
right? Number two was, well, there's still this paper currency component.
Right.
When you think about it in the actual use of funds now,
Right.
I would venture to guess that 90% of people primarily use digital payments all the time anyway.
It's true. It's true. So basically what you're alluding to, how this is going to work is first your bank has to be on the list that is adopting this.
And they're going to start with the larger banks first, and then they'll go downstream over time.
So as of right now, J.P. Morgan and Wells are on the list.
Shocker.
Right, shocker. They've been consulted, but guess two of the other top four are not.
Mm-hmm.
Citi and B of A.
Yeah.
Not on the list yet.
Yeah.
Which I found interesting. But I would imagine that they will ultimately adopt this. But Brian Moynihan's like, I'm going to sit this out. Let y'all figure this out.
I don't really know that it makes a difference. I think some of them are so technologically invested in things like Zelle,
Mm-hmm.
which do this already.
Right.
My question is what does this do for Zelle? What does this do for Venmo? What does this do for PayPal?
What does it do for check cashing places? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because hopefully that, or, it reduces the need for people to go there and they can get their money like payroll quicker this way. So from start to finish, the transaction would take no longer than 20 seconds as opposed to days, right? Someone getting their check, going to deposit.
20 seconds is a long time for some of us.
What are you talking about?
It can feel like a long time.
It could feel like a long time.
20 seconds?
Nah, that ain't long enough.
Wow. I guess your stamina and patience are greater than mine.
Yeah. So, dude, nothing. Nothing from you, huh?
About what?
Silence. This guy.
What are you talking about? Arun, did you find anything wrong with what I just said?
Staying quiet.
Staying quiet, yeah.
That's also odd.
Hashtag Team Chris. So yeah, it would take no longer than 20 seconds. Basically how it works is you would set up the transfer and it would get sent over to the Fed, and then they would check with the other institution, and they would clear both sides, and they would debit and credit the master account of the bank,
Mhm.
and then the bank would have to figure out what they want to do after the fact, right? So that's why it would happen so quickly. Now, the concerns that Chris was talking about is a lot of people are saying that this could be like a Trojan horse that will lead to the eventual release of the U.S. dollar CBDC, right? That's a concern that you were referencing.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea behind it is that it will first come to dominate the instant payment infrastructure like Venmo and Zelle, and once it kills the competition, it could force everybody into this and then ultimately lead everyone over to their, digital currency.
So there's a number of challenges there. Number one, this assumes Main Street adoption, and by Main Street I mean the banks.
Right.
Then it assumes mainstream adoption, and by mainstream I mean the consumers.
Right.
I think so many people are already rooted in these existing instant payment platforms.
Yes.
That unless those are taken away, it's going to be hard for even the U.S. government to get back market share. They should have had years ago.
Right.
That being said, I don't know that you're gonna really do away with cryptocurrency. I know the theory's out there, and that's a speculation.
Right.
But there are people who just do not believe in anything government backed.
And exactly.
They want to separate church and state.
Right. And you're going to start hearing a lot of rhetoric of, well, now they're going to be able to monitor everything that you do and every dollar that you spend. And
I don't get this fear.
I don't understand this fear, especially when
you think they don't know already?
Right. Especially when you look at the data. So the Federal Reserve currently processes a great portion of all wire transfers.
Something tells me you know that number.
Over $1 quadrillion last year.
I just want $1 billion.
Listen, I don't think I've ever used the word quadrillion.
Oh, I use it all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'm going to talk about my weight gain in recent weeks.
I was thinking maybe your black card.
We haven't had a reference. Is it Haroon that brings the references back? Or
yeah, that's what he messaged me sidebar. He's like, I let one go last episode.
Dude, he missed a big one last episode.
What was the big one last episode?
You got upgraded to first class and you left your wife back in coach or business. Where'd you leave her?
That wasn't a black card thing.
Yeah, but he said
could have.
He said I could have thrown a jab, but I didn't. I chose the higher road.
The higher standard.
That's what I do. Exactly. Also, the Fed currently has something right now called the Fed ACH service, which processed $40 trillion last year. So, look, they're already intertwined. And with the Bank Secrecy Act that's passed, they have access to anything that they want already. So,
well, let's just get away from the dollar for a little bit. If you think that they don't have access to your information and you're already like, oh, my God, they already have a hard line in the Google. They're already getting information from Instagram and Facebook. And trust me, more of your personal life is deciphered by social media than it is by where you're spending money.
I think they have a hard line into Apple.
Yeah.
Come on.
It would not surprise me in the slightest. And, I mean, if they were telling Twitter what to post and not post during the COVID pandemic, which is now out there.
Right.
I mean, Elon Musk has put it out there. You don't think they're doing the same thing with anything else? And here's my biggest complaint about, I don't know if you use Threads at all.
I have not.
Haroon, have you been using Threads?
I haven't, not yet.
Wow, really? That surprises me.
As a marketing guy, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that you would be all in.
We're still, at least for the company that I work at, we're still seeing how it's going to turn out. There was something that came out last year. It ended up dying out like within 6 weeks. So we're just.
This guy,
we're
he sounds
waiting.
like he's dying out.
You
sound like you're gonna die in 6 weeks.
You sure you don't have COVID?
Bro, I haven't spoken to people and like outside of my wife.
I know it pain. Look, let's just be honest. Your wife doesn't listen to the show this far in.
Oh hell no.
Do you really hate being home this much? Like you just want to be out and about?
Oh, I love being out. I love seeing people, but bro, my wife's pregnant. Got a baby at home.
Bro, she's like 8 months pregnant.
Bro, she's 10 months pregnant. Baby's about to come out like in a few weeks.
Wow.
Matt's not checking out there, but I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna.
Obviously 9 months. Okay.
Do we have to explain to you how babies are made?
Yeah. You have one.
The good news is by the time the baby comes out, there's still inflation because we've established. Yeah, inflation's not coming down with it, and the rates won't be cut.
Yeah, rates won't be cut.
So yeah, even if it's 9 more months. Well, look, I'm glad that she's okay. I mean, you had a lot. That was the one thing I didn't talk to you about, but I was worried the most about is like
yeah, absolutely.
You got all these sick people around you. Everybody had COVID, but your wife's like 9 months pregnant, or in your case, 10.
Yeah.
Dude, it was crazy. She got COVID 4 weeks ago, and then didn't have
shit,
COVID.
really?
So she got COVID twice in a matter of a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris is doing the math in his head right now. He's like, wait, I saw Odun.
Yeah, I'm like
4 weeks ago.
Maybe what I had was COVID. I didn't know.
Yeah.
My wife tests me if I sneeze.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But all right, well, I'm glad everybody's okay. That's all I care about. And it seems like everybody's coming back pretty strong.
Right.
So
the other really good feature about this, and part of the reason why it's really gonna become very dominant in this space quickly, is it's supposed to replace, some of the ACH features, the automated clearinghouse features that banks currently adopt.
See, my problem with ACH features is that if you're a bank,
Mm-hmm.
you get notified by somebody reaching into your bank and pulling money out.
Right.
Versus a wire is somebody comes to you and you're sending money out.
Right.
Right? So in a lot of ways, the ACH system, because of the delays, it really blindsides banks too.
Yeah.
Because someone's reaching in and pulling out from another institution that's pulling it out, right?
They don't have to They have to notify the bank though, right?
Yeah. So think of it this way: if
ACH
I'm
stands for automated clearinghouse.
if I'm wiring you money,
Mm-hmm.
I go to my bank and I say, "Hey, bank, send Saied the money."
Right.
If you're ACHing the money into an account, Saied goes into his bank and says, "Hey, go get the money from the other bank."
Yes.
And that's how you get notified. And granted, it's not a big deal.
The
It's
other
how banks
the other
operate.
the other bank has something on record saying that I'm allowed to do that.
And then you reach in effectively and grab that money out.
Right. And so right now, typically speaking, on average, those the cost associated with those ACH payments is approximately like $1, right?
Yeah.
For some institutions, this is going to cost like 4 cents
Yeah, I mean, when you think about
per transfer.
when you think about it, there's no reason why it should cost so much. Our system has been so outdated.
Yeah.
This is such a general ledger simple thing that it should have happened a long
And
time
don't
ago.
don't think of like the ACH as like a one-time transfer thing. No, people are using that for like payrolls,
Mhm.
right? So for entire payrolls, if it's happening, yeah, $1 every month for all your employees can start to add up compared to your 4 cents.
There's a lot of benefits in the system. There's a lot of drawbacks. I don't know that it's going to make as big of a splash or sensational.
Not yet, but eventually,
change.
I could see-
Eventually, yeah.
I
but
could
look,
definitely see it taking
the monetary system needed to be upgraded anyway. So
a little outdated.
yeah, a little outdated.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, I think one of my most favorite articles I've read last week
Mm-hmm.
from Market Watch. Here are 10 reasons why Wall Street's inevitable recession never arrived.
Mm.
But I'm going to go ahead and put a little asterisk here, and I'm going to say never seems entirely too committed.
Yeah,
Hasn't arrived yet, guys.
hasn't arrived yet, and let's not forget we talked about it. I think 2 episodes ago, the inverted yield curve. We won't dive into explaining what that is again for the 100th time, but
10-year treasuries are lower in price than the 2-year treasuries.
essentially, right? It costs more to borrow for less time than for longer time, right? So when that yield curve is inverted, typically speaking, when it signals a recession is coming, and that could be anywhere between 6 to 24 months away. All right, and I believe, let's see, I have it here when it actually inverted. It inverted in March of 2022.
Mm.
So we have until March of 2024, according to that standard that hasn't been broken since 1950.
Yeah, but here's a big pause, something people think about. And I had this conversation recently with somebody else. And we even fall victim to this ourselves. We constantly talk about stuff on the show where we're citing back historical events and saying, hey, look,
Underwriter by nature.
this is what's happened historically. This is what we could expect moving forward.
Right.
Except we just came through a very unique, unprecedented, prosperous economy, unprecedented, pumping of money into the economy. And we have an audio clip we'll play later on in the show where you have somebody much smarter than me talking about how he sees a recession's potential based on all the money we pumped in the economy and what Americans did with that money.
Mm-hmm.
But the long and short of it is this. Sometimes the lagging indicators will lag longer if there was more of a lead up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had the longest lead up we've seen in history. I read an interesting article, which I didn't put in the show notes. I thought it was a little bit too complex and kind of convoluted. But it basically suggested, on a very, very simple basis, and I'm paraphrasing a lot, that over time, recessionary economies and prosperous economies have generally gotten longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if that's the case, I'm afraid, because that means this prosperous economy of 14 years of artificial interest rate deflation, all the things that we did,
Right. The cycle.
would lead into not a short recession, but a much longer one than we've had before.
A deeper one, right.
And that's what scares me. I don't know if there's any truth to that being a reality, but again, unprecedented beginnings have unprecedented endings.
Right.
So it's scary. You want to count us down from 1 to 10?
Yeah, let's go. So the first reason that the article cited was monetary policy isn't that tight. right? Well, it has been for the banking sector, that's for sure. As of right now, I think by the time this episode gets released, the Fed will have already had their meeting, or no, it'll be the beginning of their meeting. But you can already bake in another 25 basis points, so there's still room for them to tighten, they believe.
I'm not going to call this one. I think there's a number of people out there that think that they shouldn't do it and they should look at the factors. Bloomberg, Chicago Mercantile, everybody has it as a lock for 25 basis points. I get that.
Yeah.
I would hope they would pause for longer and make that decision with more data. That's my only hope.
Yeah, I would too. And that I think we've agreed on the show before that that's the approach. The wait and see approach shouldn't just be for 1 month.
No.
Right? This has clearly been predetermined.
But we're gonna get an open Fed meeting, so we're gonna have to listen in and make fun of Neil Kashkari and his crayons.
Yeah, and really make sure that these Fed minutes are reported accurately.
Yeah.
But I guess I still believe that this is going to be the last rate hike. That they're signaling that the jawboning going around, them signaling 2 more rate hikes, is just them speaking just to lower consumer sentiment, right?
Consumer sentiment's not gonna go down until they see something.
Until they see something break.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how consumers are. So number 2.
Number 2 on the list is fiscal spending boosts growth.
So when you pump in, 2.3 trillion.
Yes.
Trillions of dollars in the economy, people buy stuff with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that continued spending, although we've seen the reserves taper down pretty dramatically over the last year or two, people are still spending a lot. And that fiscal spending, 70% of GDP is consumption, which is consumer spending.
Right. Next on the list, household debt is still manageable.
See, I didn't agree with this one. I thought it's manageable if interest rates are low.
Mm-hmm.
It's manageable if student loan debt is on hold.
I think what they're trying to signal here is that people have been able to stay afloat, whether that means you're adding to your credit card debt or not, right? Like, it's manageable if you continue to add on more debt, but I wouldn't really consider that manageable.
Yeah, I didn't like the statement. I get what they're trying to say, that they're not seeing the cracks yet, but I would say you have to see the runoff of the savings before you see the cracks.
Right.
Right. But,
exactly.
Keep it going.
Number 4, consumers and businesses didn't borrow to excess.
Wow. Yeah. They're talking about the business cycles. I get it. And
they didn't need, or maybe I think they're saying they didn't need to because of the stimulus packages that were sent out, right?
Yeah. Well, again, I don't know that this is going to be a credit default cycle.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be a very different recessionary economy if it is one.
Well, people don't tend to borrow money when they don't need it. They go to look to borrow money when they need it, and now when they need it, they're not going to be able to get it.
Yeah.
Right? Which leads us into number 5. Feared credit crunch never arrived. Sorry. Okay.
It is also never a ride.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, okay, this has remained to be seen.
Yeah.
And this is our issue with the title of this article,
mm-hmm.
right? Is, okay, hold on. We haven't finished the tightening cycle yet. We know the terminal rate hasn't reached its end mark.
Mm-hmm.
So once that happens and then you see banks still not lending, that's when you've reached your credit crunch.
Yeah, I think this is called way too early. You haven't seen a credit crunch yet in the traditional sense of additional defaults and reserves and people tightening up because they're afraid to lend.
Right.
You're seeing people say, I just don't want to put out money right now because right now it doesn't make economic sense.
Right.
So very different in my mind. But
very, very different in my mind. And when this does happen, there's no way small to medium-sized businesses can survive because a lot of them operate and they really rely on these lines of credit to keep them afloat.
Yep.
Right? And when those lines of credits don't get renewed because their businesses are no longer cash flowing, what happens?
They cry.
Do they? So what happens?
Tears.
What happens to a business that has a line of credit with a balance, right, that doesn't get renewed? What's going to happen to them?
Generally speaking, if you're not in adverse credit or classified, if you will, your lender will come to you and say, hey, look, you know what? You haven't met your loan covenants, your promises to perform, in some cases negative or positive covenants. I will keep balances of X or I will not do Y, whatever it might be. they'll say you've got this many days to exit the institution. Or they could be very hyper aggressive and
You
say,
need
hey,
pay down your balance completely?
find another lender to take you out.
Good luck.
Yeah.
That might have to be private equity.
It could be a hard money lender. It could
Yeah.
be you have cash on hand, but it's not the highest and best use of your cash. You know,
Right.
it could be a lot of different things. It depends on what kind of line of credit it is. Is it secured by something?
Right.
Is it secured by accounts receivable, AR?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way you can speed up that cycle? Is it your season? Is it off season for you?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not paying it down? There's a lot of questions to ask there, but
Right.
and long and short of it is this, is that you're going to see a lot of this transition around,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also going to see a kind of a big pause in the market right now.
Mm-hmm.
The same reason why you're not seeing M&A activity, mergers and acquisitions. Everybody's waiting for what drops first.
Yeah.
Everybody's waiting for other people to fail, because if you're a failing business,
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to stay afloat. And if you try to sell your business now, people are going to buy you,
Right.
or they can wait till you fail, and they can buy you at a lot less.
Right.
And that's what people are waiting for right now. They're waiting to see, have we troughed out on some of these industries and some of these businesses to where now's the best opportunity to buy, or do they fail and I get an even better opportunity to buy?
Right.
And keep in mind where rates are at these days, you got to be really, really thoughtful about how you place your money, because when rates are higher, you can't be as fast and loose as you were when rates were super low. When the cost of funds was cheap, wasn't a big deal.
Right.
When cost of funds are expensive as it is now, when you got like an 8 or 9% rate on your business stuff, you got to think about where you put your money.
Absolutely. Next, tight labor market boosts growth.
We've all called BS in the labor market. Come on now.
It can't be, right?
I've called BS.
I mean, what they're referencing here is the JOLTS job opening labor turnover survey. That's still reporting, I think, just shy of 10 million openings.
Yeah, it's a report I like to call bullshit.
Yeah, JOLTS. We hate
That's
the
the
JOLTS.
bullshit report.
We hate the JOLTS report, and the jobs report recently ticked down the overall unemployment figure to 3.6%.
Here's what bothers me, is so many of these reports are revised afterward, too.
Yes,
And they're always revised up.
they're always revised or down. Right.
They're almost always revised up.
Yeah.
They're rarely revised down. It's almost always like, oh, shit. Instead of giving you like a 2% GDP, it was like 14.
Right. But the jobs report will revise the number of jobs added down. Right. So
Yeah.
also negative.
Yeah,
Negatively
negative
revised.
for the impact here. yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway,
So next, post-pandemic world is still a mystery. Valid point. I think one that you referenced at the top.
unprecedented, baby. Yeah, unprecedented events beginnings have unprecedented endings,
Mhm.
which sounds all sophisticated and financy, but I really got it from a Netflix show.
Which one?
Come on now. Nothing?
Nothing. I'm not hip to Netflix shows.
It wasn't Netflix. It was HBO.
What the hell? That's a retrade.
I know.
What? Succession?
No. Haroon, do you know?
Baller?
No. Sci-fi. Come on, guys.
Say it again?
You know what? I'm blanking on the name. Son of a bitch. Hold
Peaky
on.
Blinders?
No.
That's not sci-fi.
Westworld. Thank you. I got it.
Westworld. And we
came
I never watched season 2.
Season 1 was great. Season 2, meh. Season 3, and then it went off the rails.
Yeah, Said and I watched season 1 together, and then we started season 2. We got halfway through the first episode, and we're like, what the?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Season 2 was not terrible once you got into it. Season 3 went off the rails pretty hard. And then season 4 was like, what the shit just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
My
was,
wife's trying to get me to watch Grey's Anatomy.
nope.
It's a lot.
How many seasons are there?
Dude, I that's the
What,
first question I asked her.
22?
Like 19, bro.
Yeah, pass.
What the hell? Like, I
I
mean, it
can't
must.
I can't
Hold on,
commit
it
to that.
must be a good show, though, right?
No, man.
You watched it?
If there's 19 seasons, it's not that good of a show.
I'm not gonna lie. I watched the first 2 episodes. I was like, okay, I kind of get it. Acting was a little sus, but
It's the drama though. It's just like it's constant drama. After a
that's
while,
what I said.
after a while, it becomes a soap opera.
I looked at her, and the first 2 episodes drama packed, and I'm like, is every episode like this? Because I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, my heart is racing right
I
now.
don't have time for all that.
Yeah,
I want to know there's an ending.
yeah,
Like 4 seasons out, cool.
yeah.
Anything more than that, like I never watched Game of Thrones and all that stuff.
What?
Too much.
Wait, never?
Never.
Shame.
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 You guys shaming me now?
Shame.
Really?
If you watch the show,
you don't
would
get
know.
the reference?
Yeah, if you would watch the show, you would know.
This guy.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing on
they,
the show.
They
yeah.
walk around and say shame.
I mean, yeah.
That's shameful that you watched it.
Shameful that. Are you kidding me? I'd be.
I heard there was a lot of like weird sexual stuff that going on too. Like,
yeah,
I don't
but
need
back.
that.
Yeah, but they're also alluding to back in those times like that kind of shit happened.
Oh, so it's okay if it's porn themed in the 1900s?
Bro, tell me why. There's also another show that. There's
1900s?
another show that.
I've never watched the show. What 1800? What is it?
I have no idea the time frame. Odin, can you look that up, please?
Yeah.
But I'm
Isn't
not
it
gonna lie.
fictional?
Listen, so I'm completely against these types of TV shows, right?
What, porn or
No, yeah, porn too. But you're the one that watches Adam 22.
that's not porn, bro.
That's Adam 22 is not porn.
his YouTube stuff is not porn. It's the first halves of the show.
What is it based on? What time frame?
Oh Jesus Christ!
Oh,
Like 12.
10,000 BC to 6,000 BC. Yep.
So 1900s. Okay, got it. There were no locomotives.
But I'll say, what I'll say about that show is the character development was something out of this. Like I felt connect. I've never hated a character so much.
Not even Haroon.
Not even, yeah. That I mean, he's a character. I haven't hated him.
Not
that
even
much.
me.
No, not you.
Ooh, longer pause, and that seemed real. Fuck you.
I had to think
That
about
seemed
it.
real. That seemed real.
I had to think about it.
That
He's
seemed-
like, oh shit, we live.
That's like, oh, that seemed very
I can't
real.
tell you my real answer.
I'm very offended right
Yeah.
now. Yes.
All right, next one. The economy experiences a rolling recession, something that you called a long time ago.
I did, yeah. Because that's what I think it's going to still be.
What is, so explain that theory again.
Instead of a recessionary economy, like everybody's in a recession, you're going to see different sectors impacted at different times as it rolls through.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, now you're seeing it in the finance and banking sectors. It really started off, if you want to get kind of micro instead of macro,
Mm-hmm.
it really started off in the mortgage and lending sector,
Mm-hmm.
rolled into the finance sector, rolled into the banking sector, and then technology as well. But it hasn't hit other sectors. Travel,
Right.
right? Airline, hospitality.
Right.
It really hasn't hit those sectors yet.
Still adding jobs, apparently, according to the jobs report.
Which is stunning. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the services sector is probably going to be much more impacted as time goes by, but the goods sector has been impacted harder in some ways.
The services sector will definitely be impacted more as time goes by because we know, based on what Jerome Powell and the FOMC members have all said, like in their minutes, is that that's what they're primarily targeting. They already know that the shelter component is coming down. It's proven to be coming down little by little over every single month. So that's on its way down just very slowly, and they understand that there's a huge lag. But the services component, which impacts jobs and unemployment or employment, that is what they're really targeting, because that will ultimately bring wages down, which will bring demand down and ultimately impact the overall figure.
Yep.
Right? I think this is the last one. Services sector is more resilient. And this one I thought was a little contradictory. I don't feel like this made their point. I didn't really understand.
It did make their point, but
Huh?
I think it did not make their point.
It did not make their point, because what they're referencing here is a report that we actually have never really covered on the show, but it is a good indicator for a recession. It's the U.S. Institute of Supply Management, right? This report is a forward-looking indicator that surveys purchasing managers' opinions on new orders, production levels.
Not a fan.
Not a fan, but it does. So if you look at it, month over month, this thing has been going down. The ISM Manufacturing Sector Survey for June, this coming from the article from MarketWatch, came in at the weakest level since May 2020. It dipped to 46%. It's the weakest level. That's a bad sign.
Yeah. Well, and I also don't like anything like the Mortgage Bankers Association has like a broker
Survey.
opinion survey kind of
Yeah,
thing. I don't-
senior loan officer.
Yeah, I don't like any of those.
Yeah.
I
But
don't like those.
okay.
Oh, there is another one. There's the periods of expansion are growing longer.
Oh, and what you alluded
What
to.
I alluded to, yeah. So if you look, actually, let's look at that chart there, Arun. I think that's probably worthwhile to look at. That one right there, very much. Figure 25 from this article, economic expansions have grown longer. This is not the one article I was referring to before, but if you look 1854 to 1919, 2.2 was the average length of the economic expansion in years. 1919 to 1982 was 3.4 years of average length of economic expansion.
Right.
1982 to present, 8.6. You went from 2.2, 3.4 to 8.6.
And
Is the next one going to be 14?
right, and that's the argument, right? I mean, we just went through 14 years,
Mhm.
so higher than the average. So there you
So
go.
you had some home builder sentiment stuff you want to talk about, right? Or do
No,
you wanna,
it's
you wanna
just
jump into the
I just think
policy
that
or something?
right now, the fact I thought it was really interesting that the home builder sentiment was still up and it wasn't quite down yet. I know rates ticked down a little bit. This from CNBC: home builder sentiment rises again in July, but builders warn higher mortgage rates are hurting. This week, although this article came out on the 18th, looks like, but as of today, rates ticked down a little bit. Builder sentiment in the market for single-family homes rose 1 point in July to 56. I think anything above 50 is considered a positive sentiment, according to the National Association of Home Builders Wells Fargo Housing Market Index.
So I thought this would be actually a good article to tap first before we went into I think it was CNBC audio you wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
Because he talked about Americans owning assets.
Oh, yeah.
Which really is the largest asset for most people in the United States is going to be their home.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would think that the home builder sentiment should be indicative, or at least in parallel with people and their assets and the economy and what they're buying.
Well, as of right now, the only thing that's going to really help out this real estate market is getting more inventory on the market. Right now, the lack of supply in that market is what's quote unquote driving the demand, even though shit is unaffordable. So the only thing
Shit is unaffordable. Is that a technical term?
it is the technical term on the higher standard.
Shit is unaffordable.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great shirt.
Shit is unaffordable.
That is a good shirt. Yeah.
Your boys.
Yeah.
And
Merch coming soon.
yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, the one Haroon brought to the studio tonight, we're not gonna say exactly what it is, but I thought it was a really good
It
idea.
was a great shirt.
Great shirt.
Just
A little toit.
a little tight on you.
I mean, your boy.
I didn't even try mine on because
Come on,
I
it's
knew it
bulk-
was gonna be a lost cause.
It's summer, but I'm treating it like bulk season.
It actually didn't look bad. It just looked very fitted, and you don't wear fitted shirts.
I don't wear fitted shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really my. I don't like to show off the goods, you know.
Noted.
Noted.
Yeah.
So if anything, home builders are really the only thing right now that could potentially add supply onto the market. In 2008-2010 market, they added over 2 million homes on the market because of foreclosures, which brought prices down.
Mhm.
Right. Right now, the projections are only 100,000 home foreclosures by the end of the year. That's not enough to move anything.
I worry a lot about what if the realtors, the home builders, and the people who want to say that home values are going to stay up because there is a shortage of supply.
Mm-hmm.
What if they're right? That scares me more.
It's so unaffordable. We covered it on the last episode.
The affordability issue is such a huge problem.
Yeah.
What happens
Mm-hmm.
if you're a kid trying to get out of your parents' house?
Mm-hmm.
Unless your parents have the financial wherewithal to help you out.
I mean, you can't stay in California. That's for sure.
I mean, and that's the other problem is you're just going to have some states where you just know you can't live.
Yeah.
I had somebody stop me today in the hallway and talk to me,
Mm.
and she said to me, "I can't afford to live in this state anymore. I've got to consider my options." And as we started talking, I started thinking through like her logic
Mm-hmm.
in my head, and I'm like, she probably can't.
Right.
That's fucking terrible. Because what happens in a state where your working class can't afford to buy a home?
Yeah.
We've
Never seen that before.
What does your wealthy
Mm-hmm.
quality of life look like when you don't have that working class in your community because they just can't afford to be there?
Right.
And this is not like New York where it's such a dense population all cohabitating.
Right.
People have to drive to Riverside.
It was when I used to do it when I was living in Riverside and I had to commute an hour and a half, almost 2 hours each way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay,
Work from home has made that almost impossible to find people willing to do.
right. And at that time when I was doing it, look, that was their only option, and that was the sacrifice that I was making so that my son, we only had my son at the time, could grow up in a house, and we had the space that they needed, and I was willing to make that sacrifice, but the exchange for that was I was seeing my son, dude, for like 30 minutes a day. Some nights, not at all. And I think back at those times, and it's like it breaks my heart. I was sending my wife videos today of videos of Adam that she had recorded and sent to me, and that I missed out on. And I was like, man, I can't believe I missed out on all that.
Yeah.
But look, I don't know if I would change. I don't know if I would change anything because of where we are today, but I can't say that I look back at that time as something positive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought you enjoyed spending time with me.
You weren't around, bro.
Wow.
What do you mean?
I mean, I wasn't around.
Behind closed door meetings. I would have come by and be like, hey, man, you want to talk?
I had a window. You could wave.
You sat me out in the hall. You're like, go ahead. fuck out of here.
From CNBC, Haroon is going to play a YouTube clip from their television channel. It's only a small clip. But the Apollo CEO says we're going to have a non-recession recession.
Not recession.
Recession.
Yeah.
Interesting title, but his statements actually kind of resonated with me. I hadn't really thought about it with his perspective. I don't know if he's wrong or right, but it certainly is an interesting perspective. Haroon, if you could hit me, baby, one more time.
Going to have a non-recession recession.
Which means what?
So think about what happened since 2008. We printed $8 trillion. Exactly what we thought was going to happen happened. Everything went up. Stocks went up. Bonds went up. Real estate went up. Infrastructure went up. Cars went up. Wine went up. You name it, it went up. So guess what? We're removing that stimulus, and asset prices are coming down. Some of it came down in 22. Some of it's come down a little in 23. More to come. We in the financial markets who benefit and live in an asset world, we're going to feel like we had a real recession. Rates went up, going up as much as they have. We're going to feel it. But is most of the country going to feel like there's a recession? Most of our country does not own assets in any significant way. 3.5% unemployment, job creation still happening, wage gains last month. Even if we have a recession in formal name, I doubt we're going to have the kind of recession that we've thought of historically with massive shifts in unemployment. I think we're having a non-recession recession.
A non-recession.
It's hard to argue with that logic. I mean, look, I hate the term coins. I really do. I just stop making up shit, people.
Just say it's not going to be like it was before.
So many brilliant economists, like smart people, keep making up shit. And I get it. It gets into the news, it gets in the media, and like headlines get out there, and then whoever says, whatever.
Yeah.
Slow session, non-recession, recessions. I mean, all this like vernacular for just it's going to be a recession.
Right.
Of a different way than you're thinking. That's what
Right.
they're trying to say.
Yeah, that's all they're trying to say.
And it's like, why are we don't make recession sexy, bro.
Exactly. It's true.
Like, just say we're going to have a different kind of recession.
Why are we putting lipstick on a pig?
Like, why are we trying to confuse everybody?
Yeah.
We're going to have a recession. That's it.
That's it.
Just it. That's it.
That's why I love him.
Yeah, I mean, Noriel Rubini ain't playing.
Yeah.
He's a recession.
Yeah. Just
Slow, fast, it's a recession.
Yeah. What's it to you? Exactly.
Big, small, it's all recession.
Yeah, love
No
him.
one cares how big it is.
I mean, some people
It
care.
is a recession.
Some people care how big it is.
No, it is a recession. You take it, that's it.
That's take it and go.
Now go to the hot tub. Wait for me there.
Yeah, you said you had some personal stuff you want to get in. Do you have time? We have a little bit of time.
I got a little bit of time. So I had a meeting with Mark Zandi,
The Mark
Zandi.
Zandi. Come on now.
chief economist,
Moody Analytics.
Moody's Analytics. And,
Top 1% podcast.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up.
Just like us.
Just like us.
Actually, the rating is just like ours.
Yeah, I saw.
That being said, I got to tell you, I listened to a show, and I understand that he's got a very corporate clientele, and you got to have a more corporate show. He's incredibly more personal in person, like he's personable in person.
Yeah.
I don't like if that personality came through on his show, it would be way better than ours.
I mean,
there is me.
Wow.
And you.
Okay.
But there is Haroon. I think he makes a show.
He does.
Yeah. Haroon,
Thank you, guys.
we missed you so much.
We really did.
In any event,
I feel like that review that person left has really turned Chris. Like,
D. Neal,
he's a
I
changed
barely
man.
remember the review.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He
72?
went on a little rant.
He dropped us from 5.0 to 4.9.
I saw.
Yeah.
But now, you know what it is? It makes us legitimate.
I'm gonna
All the legitimate podcasts don't have 5.0 ratings. So, you know what, Dino? Thanks for the hookup.
walk by somebody one day. And he's gonna be like, "Hey, my name's Douglas Neal,"
Oh,
and I'm be like, "Your name's what?"
exactly.
Or like, "My name's Devin Neal." Your name's what?
Yeah. Say it again. Say it with your chest.
I want to see your Apple Podcast review account right now.
Right now, yeah.
What's your username, bitch?
Who you subscribe to?
Yeah.
Who do you follow?
Yeah.
Which reminds me, right now, if you haven't subscribed to our show, whether that's on Apple or Spotify, please go ahead and do so. It really helps out the show. This is what we do it for, the honest 5-star reviews. Leave us a review while you're there. And we also got a YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, hit the bell notification, do all the fancy stuff.
Damn, that was really
Yeah,
good.
pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah? All right. Cool.
Yeah, I was gonna go on more, but I feel like that's a great exit.
That's it. I mean, you met Mark. You don't even want to talk about it. I mean, he was really personable and nothing else.
No, there's gonna be some more coming on that.
Teaser for next episode.
Yeah, there'll be more coming on that. I think he's a guy I could very much like. He said I reminded him of his brother.
Do you know his brother?
No, but I asked him if his brother had a hair transplant too.
What
His brother
if he
goes
says?
back.
What if he says I don't speak to my brother anymore?
What if his brother's fat?
Yeah, I mean, you are the big guy.
You know, honestly, Haroon, after what D. Neal said, I'm not even allowed to acknowledge that statement, so I'm going to go ahead and ignore you. And I'll go ahead and respond to you, Saied. If he doesn't like his brother, that's unfortunate, but I hope to rekindle the love.
Oh,
See?
okay.
I'm cerebellum right now. That's what I'm
Honestly,
giving you.
you're too soft for me to continue on with the show. Let's call it. Good night, everybody.
I'm afraid of more like hate.
Bye. Come on, say it.
Come on,
You can't
Chris.
say
Say it. I said your thing.
Haroon, why don't you say bye?
Nah.
Come on. High pitch. Let's go. Dig in deep. Give it to me.
Bye.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I told
you.
Bye.